There are a couple viral TikTok videos going around the internet right now about how difficult it is to pay off student loans, specifically because student loan interest is a trap. Today I'm going to share an example of how my student loans, the Parent Plus loans that I'm currently paying off in my debt snowball, have grown from such a reasonable amount to something that is going to cost me double to pay back. Okay, and now we're going to hop over to my debt snowball and I'm going to show you where I started paying off the loans. I started paying off these loans 10 years after they were taken out. So I'm going to show you what I actually had for my education, the actual original loan balance, what it grew to, and how I'm tackling it now.
All right, here is my debt snowball from when I started paying off all of this debt in 2018. And today we're going to look at just loan 4, which was made up of 4 different loans. And by the time I started paying it in 2018, it had grown to $31,129.13 in this one account. So I'm going to break down what these loans started at. They were all before 2008, and I did graduate college in 2008. So these were loans that literally were not touched for about 10 years. And by the time I took them over, they had grown beyond the amount that was taken out. So all of that $31,000 was the principal balance and a lot of interest as well. So the first one we'll call 4A. This was a loan from 2007. It was for $3,090 and it had an 8.5% interest rate because it was a Parent Plus loan. Those interest rates are really high. All of the interest rates in this account were high. So that is a consideration. Loan rates now are not as high, which is good for everybody that's in college now. But when I was in college before 2013, rates were really high, especially for Parent Plus loans. So that is part of why these grew so much. They were deferred over and over again because they were supposed to be paid by my parents, but that did not happen. So they just kept deferring them, and ultimately it ended up growing. So this is just an example. And the first loan went from $3,090 to $4,985.52 in 2018. The second loan, also taken out in 2007, started at $3,373. It had an 8.5% interest rate as well. It grew to $5,203.44. So both of those grew quite a bit, about $2,000 each. I will say there were a few payments made on these loans, but not enough to really make a difference. And the majority of the time between when they were taken out and the 2018 when I started paying them, it was deferment. So while a few payments were made, they still grew an excessive amount. So loan 4C, also taken out in 2007, was $4,000. It had the same 8.5% interest rate, and that one grew to $6,219.08. So it grew about $2,000 as well, and all of these together just added $6,000 to the original balance of what I took out. So you can see that if you aren't paying anything, you're going to be losing out to interest. Then loan 4D was from 2016, and that was all of it together in one lump sum. It was $11,432. This at least had a slightly lower interest rate. The interest rate on this one was 6.125%. So it grew to $14,702.89. So that added a nice $3,000 to the total. The original amount I took out in this account, which was with AES, was $21,895. That was for 2 years, my last 2 years of school, where I didn't have as many scholarships. And then in 2018, by the time I took it over, it had grown by $10,000 and it was $31,129.13. So in that 10 years of very, very minimal payments and lots of deferrals, there was a $10,000 increase. When I logged into this account, the total amount that's been paid so far, including the payments before I took over and since I took over in 2018, the amount paid toward this debt is $11,986.85. This is a total amount of all of the payments paid before I refinanced these loans. These are the loans that I did refinance. So all of this paid before, only $4,000, $4,745.65 went toward principal, toward actually paying this down. So I spent $7,000 basically to pay interest. There were some late fees as well, but the majority of the $11,000, well, really close to $12,000 that was paid already on this debt went toward interest. And there were $166 in fees. Those were fees that happened when payments were late or things like that before I took over paying these accounts. So in 2020, I did refinance this amount. After that $12,000 had been paid, I refinanced, and the refinance amount that I had was $23,323. This was the amount that I refinanced after all of these payments, and it was still higher than the original balance. I refinanced after paying $12,000. I refinanced for like $2,000 more than I originally took out. That's when you see these numbers, and it's very disheartening. So the minimum amount that I will pay, so adding up that paid amount already and the 2020 refinance, the minimum, the very minimum, if I went out and paid that refinance loan off the next day, the minimum amount I would pay for these loans is $35,309. I do have a low interest rate, and I am trying to pay this off as quickly as possible. So hopefully the interest that I do pay on the refinance amount is not that much. I'm hoping to keep it to the lowest amount possible, but no matter what, I'm minimum paying $35,000 for $21,000 in student loans. And that is how interest can work terribly against you when you just ignore it and never ever pay attention, or never make enough payments, or let your payments be less than paying any of the principal down. This is just one example from my experience and my snowball, but there are tons of them out there, and I know a lot of people get stuck in student loans, so hopefully this has been helpful.
It's a little bit disheartening to see that even once I refinanced, I've already hit $35,000 that I'll have to pay in order to get rid of this debt that started at just $21,000. Oh, and that's not even counting any of the interest that I'm paying on the refinance loans. I do have a really low interest rate right now, which is helping me make progress, but I'm still paying some interest, and the total amount that I will have paid to pay back $21,000 in education expenses is really just, it makes me want to tear my hair out. But on the bright side, I am able to use this experience to share how this works. So hopefully those of you going into college right now, those of you who just graduated, see the ways that student loans can get you into a trap, and that you avoid it altogether. Or if you have student loans already, you work as hard as possible to pay those down, especially while you have low or no interest on those loans. Not to get political, but personally, I think student loans can be a thing, but there should be zero interest on them ever. If the government is going to back these loans, they should still have zero interest rates. Maybe free college isn't an option, although in our state we have free community college, and that's worked out really well. So I do actually think that free college options are a great idea, but realistically, I think that just what we have currently with our world and system that we currently have, the best option would maybe be to go to 0% interest so people can actually make progress on paying back student loans. Will it happen? I don't know. Will student loans be forgiven entirely? I don't know. It's hard to know what will happen in the future, but all I know is how we have our current system and how we can work within that to make the best choices for ourselves and the best choices for our family, which means paying off these loans before the interest gets you stuck in a never-ending cycle where you're always making payments for 20, 30 years and then still having this huge balance that has to be forgiven and you're taxed on it. The unfortunate reality is a lot of people are trapped in these situations where they've been paying for a long time and still have as much, if not more, to pay to go. So hopefully our situations can change. Hopefully something can happen with interest rates. And honestly, I hope that people are able to find ways in their budget to either make more money or cut back on expenses so that they can throw money toward these loans, because honestly, the only way to get out is to throw a lot of money at the debt to reduce that principal balance so that you're not continually letting it grow. I know that that can feel like a big privilege for a lot of people. Not everyone can throw that much money at debt. And unfortunately, that is a reality in our world. So there's a lot of things that really need to change. With student loans in general, I hope that sharing my specific numbers has helped and shown you an example of what can happen if you ignore it for 10 years, because ignoring it doesn't really get you anywhere. It just gets you into a deeper hole to dig out of later. If you have student loans that you've been paying on for a long time and the interest has made it almost impossible for you to get out, I would love to hear your numbers and story in the comments below. Let me know how you have tackled the problem, if you have, or how you feel stuck. I know a lot of people feel stuck as well. So sometimes just getting that story out there is helpful. So let me know in the comments where you are with your student loan journey, if you've paid them off, if you're currently stuck, if you've paid as much as you took out, but you're still with the same balance. I would love to hear about it. Let me know in the comments, and good luck to everybody who is currently in this process.